So, as we are continuing with our exploration of the subtle body, we're now going to come to we could say, the Maha subject of the subtle body, and this is the time to talk about Kundalini. So, as we get more and more in breaking down our perception of the body, and it becomes more and more subtle, more and more esoteric, there is more of a general idea, there is more of a perception or an idea of what these aspects of our being are. And as with anything, it is a direct experience that is really only going to give you that true understanding. The rest is just words. The rest is just things we've read in books, so we have to some degree perceived in ourselves in some moments. But this whole thing of Kundalini rising that we hear about is really something very, very personal and really something very unique. And I feel the more we go towards the pure divine essence of what we are speaking about, what we are experiencing, what we are opening ourselves to, the less we can describe it in words. And so we have, and as you go through these modules, if you're kind of studying generally the whole modules offered, you will understand more about your physical body, of course, and through these the subtle body breakdown, you'll understand obviously that we have the koshas, that we have the different wind flows, we're having nadis. Yet this subject of Kundalini really takes us, we could say, to the heart of the goddess. And this is exactly what this energy is. It is the pure spiritual manifestation of the mother. And that purity of Kundalini is so uniquely beautiful, so pure, that for most human beings, it lies dormant inside the subtle body. It's there inside every human being, but it is dormant for most, because the reality is most people are not ready for this energy to come for many different reasons. I like to give an analogy for this to start us off, yes. So our subtle body and all of our Nadi system is a bit like an electrical map. And if you can imagine in your house or in your place, you have a general lighting system, and you have a bulb in one of your rooms that is 240 volts. Let's just say this. I don't know so much about electrics, but I think you will follow me. So this bulb can channel 240 volts, and you can put the bulbs there. The electrical currents just do their own thing, and this is good. Now, if in a certain moment that voltage was to be increased, and you put 1,000 volts through that current for whatever reason, the bulb itself that was doing just fine with the 240 would suddenly explode, because it's not wired, it hasn't been prepared to take a higher voltage. And this is the situation with the grace of the Kundalini energy. Most people's subtle bodies are not prepared to be able to withstand that energy that moves through, physically, but also energetically, and also mentally. So what we are doing in all of our practices is preparing the different koshas of our being to be able to purify those aspects, purify the physical body, stabilize the physical body, purify the energies through the chakras, stabilize the different interplay of the vayus, and definitely purifying the mind through meditation techniques and things like this. And obviously, as you start to purify one level, then it obviously has an effect on the holistic picture of your being. And this is what all this yoga is about, actually. Especially in Hatha Yoga, the Shat Karmas, the purification techniques, are foundational. It's very, you would never have somebody come to your yoga classes, or if you were teaching a friend or something, and suddenly show them techniques from the Hatha Kundalini program that are really kind of pushing the energies, because they're just not ready for that. Even on an anatomical, physiological viewpoint, the lungs themselves, if they're not used to breathing properly, and those of you that will study the pranayama will understand that some people don't even breathe properly, or they haven't been used to really expanding their lungs, and then suddenly you do these techniques that just demand a lot more from you, and it can cause more stress to our being. And it's not unusual to come across people that have increased their energy through external methods. There's a lot of openness now about plant medicines, and also the use of recreational drugs, whatever that means and however that is used. And these are like ways that the energy is opened up very fast. But I also see a lot of difficult repercussions from people getting in contact because they have opened up their energy. They don't know how to switch it off, and they simply cannot deal with it. They cannot function with ease in the daily life with what is happening energetically and definitely mentally. And so the yoga and the tantra is a systematic process of purifying our being, through the chakras, through the subjects of the subtle body, also purifying the gunas, the three qualities of nature that we will speak about. And this purification is so necessary. I think you can really understand this from the physical body. And you can suddenly just like maybe eat fruits for a week and just see what is coming out of you. Or you go into a retreat and you do 10 days silence, and oh my God, you see what is happening to your mind as all this kind of undercurrent subconscious junk is just being processed and eliminated from the mind. And if you haven't done either a detox to your body or a detox to your mind through a retreat, then really please do this for yourself, because how to really go deep in yoga and tantra without having purified yourself with such means. And of course, there are many different techniques that you can do to purify yourself. We'll speak about some of these in the pranayama lecture that we will share. But this is really, really important in terms of the subject of Kundalini. And until you've really gained stability in your body and energy, anyway, the energies will just dance between the Ida and Pingala, the lunar and solar. And so even if the Kundalini is tickled, I like to say tickled because many people have this, it's rising, and okay, most of the time we tickle the Kundalini, we just shake her, and sometimes she comes and like this. So even with this slight arousing. If you haven't prepared your nadis and you haven't gained balance in your mind to a good degree, that energy can very much start to just play havoc. It can get stuck at different levels in different chakras and really kind of give problems to this balance within the lunar and solar energies. So I think you understand the point here. We need to prepare ourselves. And I would also really recommend at this point, because I see it many times in on the spiritual path, of making sure, if you're working with Kundalini, watch what you are eating. Because many times we can have all of these fantastic purification ideas, fasting, raw food, and other things like this. But if you arouse your energy and your physical body is not grounded enough, because actually in the scriptures, in the Hatha Yoga Pradipika and other sacred samhitas, it is recognized that you need to have heavy foods, and a heavy food for a yogi is things like ghee, which is purified butter, milk, curd, like these types of foods that give a heaviness to the body. And of course, many people are vegan nowadays, but you know what foods make a heaviness, more stability in your body. If I am working a lot with my energy in this way, say I'm in the ashram, I eat so much more carbohydrates than I would normally, bread and rice, dwal-chapati and rice. And it's like there's so much of a hunger, like your pitta, your samana is fully active and this energy is there, and you need food so your body can be a vehicle for this energy. So this is, I would say, number two. Number one, purify. Number two, and then within that purification, stabilize your mind as much as possible. And number two, eat well. Make sure your body is strong. And also know, maybe we can call this a number three, also know that if you are using external substances to awaken that energy, that this awakening can sometimes be too quick. And so really take care of yourself in these moments. Actually, my guru doesn't recommend to take external herbs or stimulants, whatever, to activate this energy, because it's too powerful and can really be like an electrifying force in your body. So just take care if that happens, because you don't want to blow your light bulb. So all of this being said, as we are creating the foundation, let's just move and speak a little bit now about this energy. This energy is revered, respected as the mother energy herself. So if you have any connection with Kundalini, you will know that this is the grace of the goddess. This is how I like to speak about Ma in this way. Because when this energy comes, it is grace. When that dormant energy chooses to awaken and rise, it is a grace. And it is a very pure form of Shakti. And of course, we can have an effect on that through our practices, but our yogic and tantric practices are also an effort that we make to move closer to the mother. And as I do this with you, but actually it's to move closer to the mother energy within ourselves. And this work, this taking steps closer to the mother, is a lifetime work, because she can show herself, she can come inside of your body and rise in different moments. But that full, complete awakening that many people speak about is something that needs to be experienced for periods of time to make that your Kundalini has risen. And usually this is at a very advanced part of our spiritual life, because if this energy does rise and she moves up uninhibited through your central channel all the way to the top, to Sahasrara, to Sahasradhara, so named, then this is that sacred union between Shiva and Shakti that we so hear about. When the energy merges with the point of consciousness here and is sustained in this point, then this is a ha-ha moment. This is that moment when the seeker really experiences and is open to that inner union. Yoga. Yoga means union. And if this flow is then maintained, because the energy can move uninhibited, it can remain, then somebody is in that awakened state of being. But for many people, an experience comes where the energy comes up and then she comes down. And this can happen over lifetimes. But whatever is your experience, even if you're not feeling this energy in your body, maybe you just feel some energy arising, and maybe you just feel an increase in heat. Maybe you can feel the energy come to different parts of your being and expanding, and you experience more bliss, or you experience more openness, or you just simply have more confidence, you have more clarity. Because as this energy comes up and down and rises, it fuels the chakras every time. There is nothing ever lost in sadhana. Even if you don't feel, I remember a beautiful quote one time, even if you don't feel the fruits of your practice, and you are practicing again and again and again for years and years and years, those efforts are being stored somewhere. Because like Eckhart Tolle says, every time we are just present for a moment, it builds the blocks of consciousness, so we become more in a sustained presence. And it is the same with the energy. What really makes a difference for the very strong energy activations is the more advanced practices in yoga and at a certain point tantra. Mantra gives the real keys to open the subtle body enough to allow this energy to flow. Mantras are keys that move us closer towards this sustained awakening. I know many people who have done big sadhanas in their life, but they are still working on this full opening, and quite honestly, not many people have that yet. Because like my guru says, the energy can come from Muladhara, the Agna chakra. He himself can guide people in that process so that eventually the energy is streaming up through and coming to here. But that journey from here to here is between us and the divine grace. And he says, even after long periods of sadhana where there is some stability to this level, it can be another 18 to 25 years, even 30 years. So at some point, these processes maybe need to be carried over into a past life. But the good news is you did this in this life. You did that work. You cleared more in your body, in your subtle body. You energize the chakras more, so that you really lay the foundations for this. So just trust in that. Please don't have a goal here, because that goal will actually hold you back from the grace of the Mother rising through you. Let her do it when she chooses, but take steps towards that. And be careful with your practices also, because my Guru also says that people actually create locks in their Kundalini and in their bodies by doing some practices wrong and by chanting mantra in the wrong times or in the wrong way. And so we can sometimes create more harm than good if we are not following, especially the advanced practices of yoga and tantra, in the correct way. It's even said at a certain point when this energy is really, really opening, maybe not to the extreme point, but maybe also to this extreme point, I don't exactly know, that even to do hatha yoga can create problems for the energy. But don't let me scare you away from hatha here at all, because this is for very advanced stages of this energy rising. And so you might notice that some yogis who were doing a lot of hatha yoga, now they do more meditation. They use mantra more. The main focus of their sadhana is the mantra, because these are like the final keys. And this is what we are doing. We are receiving keys from our teachers, our guides, to open this energy. And the other important aspect is, I believe, our devotion and our bhakti towards the Mother. And our humility. Because this energy cannot fully rise when the ego is still strong and there is still pride, because that powerhouse of energy will just simply flood into the ego. And this happens. You see it. There are many great teachers that have had significant realizations on the path, significant openings through their Kundalini, and they have fallen because that energy found a dark shadow that came into the light. But if the seeker, if the master, that person is not able to see that shadow, then they can get very deluded in the Maya. So there is also a play here with this energy, because ultimately our innate birthright is this realization, but the Mother can play with our ego and inflame those parts of us that we don't see yet. And she does that out of love, so that we can see that. And even sometimes we fall, and then we have to get back up again. It's a journey. So undertake it joyfully and wisely. And always give great respect to the Mother, to the energy of Kundalini.